This video is a statistical analysis of old school versus new school NFL quarterbacking. Fran Tarkenton and Johnny Unitas are featured as the old school quarterbacks. A quality that cannot be underestimated is toughness, like overcoming a Big Ben Davidson kick to the privates. Unitas would shake it off, and on the very next play, hit Ray Perkins with his 68-yard scoring strike. Brett Favre and Peyton Manning are featured as the new school quarterbacks. I'm so excited to be making this video. The purpose is to disclose the meaning behind the large disparity in passing touchdowns between old school greats and the new school greats. The first statistic I want to look at is the cheapest of the cheap passing touchdowns, the 1-yard touchdown pass. Old school field generals like John Unitas and Fran Tarkenton didn't seem to want to pad their statistics with a lot of these 1-yard cheapos, as both players only had 1% of their career touchdown passes result from 1 yard out. However, when we look at the new school quarterbacks, 7% of their career passing touchdowns for Favre and Manning came from a measly 1 yard out. Just throw the ball in the flat, have your blockers hold on for dear life, and you've got yourself an easy touchdown pass. Looking into the microscope further, the category touchdown passes from 1 to 5 yards reflect a similar large gap between the old and new school quarterbacks. Unitas and Tarkenton each had 16% of their passing touchdowns result from within this 1 to 5 yard range, while Favre had 27% and Manning 28%. Category touchdown passes from 1 to 10 yards yield some very interesting data. John Unitas had 30% of his career touchdown passes come from 1 to 10 yards out. Fran Tarkenton's was somewhat higher at 34%. But when we look at the two new school quarterbacks, there is a dramatic spike. Favre is at 44% and Manning at 45%. When inside the 10-yard line, the strategy as to whether or not to run or pass was in stark contrast between the two schools. The old school predominantly ran the ball and almost exclusively did so at the 1 yard line. And Fran Tarkenton wasn't the only old school quarterback who could run. If you're thinking that the old school passers threw for more long touchdowns than the newbies, you'd be correct. The next category, touchdown passes from 40 plus yards, shows us that Tarkenton threw 1.5 times more touchdowns than the newbies and Unitas 2 times more as a percentage of total touchdown passes. And the same ratio holds true for 50 plus yards touchdown passes. If you thought that Unitas threw the bomb a lot and connected a lot, check out non-Hall of Fame quarterback John Hadel's stats. 27% of his passing touchdowns were from 40 plus yards out, 3% higher than Unitas. It's interesting to recall that Fran Tarkenton's reputation as a passer was that of a short yardage one, as he frequently threw short passes to running backs Bill Brown, Chuck Foreman, Ed Marinaro, and Ricky Young. However, he was a slide quarterback who often passed short repeatedly in order to soften the defense for long bombs to speedy wide receivers John Gilliam and Sammy White. These statistics tell us that the quarterbacks who should be considered dinkers and dunkers are actually Favre and Manning, not Tarkenton, when it comes to the distance of TD passes. So the old-timers earn their TD passes by throwing considerably deeper than Favre and Manning. Another category that I will discuss is touchdown passes to games played ratio. Unitas tossed 290 touchdowns in 211 games played for 1.37 touchdown passes per game, while Tarkenton threw 342 touchdown strikes in 246 games for a 1.39 ratio. Favre threw 508 TDs in 302 games for a 1.68 touchdowns per game, which is sizably more than the old schoolers, and Manning blew that out of the water with the 2.02 touchdown ratio based upon 539 touchdowns in 266 games played. Another reason given for this large gap between old school and new school quarterbacks, other than a lot of short touchdown passes, is that when a team had a big lead late in games back in the day, the head coaches would pull their old school quarterback from the game. And why not? Why risk an injury? And why not give the backup quarterback some reps? Who knows? Maybe later the team will need his services. Case in point, Earl Morrall with the Colts when Unitas had injuries and missed games. The offensive coordinators of the new school of quarterbacking definitely do not subscribe to this philosophy. With big leads late in games, they tell their quarterback to keep airing it out, thereby accumulated bloating statistics. Why? Perhaps so the offensive coordinators can tout their offensive production rankings in their next job interview. In post-game interviews, if asked, why did you keep throwing the ball late in the game when the wind was in the bag way earlier? Quarterbacks will invariably state, we were just running our regular offense. Perhaps, but there is something called sportsmanship, and that ship has appeared to have sailed a long time ago. What are other reasons for the large disparity in touchdown passes to games played? Immaculate field conditions, pass interference penalty call liberalization, offensive holding penalties called in only extreme situations, quarterbacks wearing gloves, receivings wearing no pest strip gloves, and on and on and on. In my opinion, the hotshots quarterbacks from the new school are no better than the old school greats like John Unitas and Fran Tarkenton, just because their passing touchdown statistics dwarf them. Unitas played in 12-game seasons from 1956 through 1960, and 14-game seasons from 1961 through 1977 were played. Tarkenton only played one 16-game season, 1978. Obviously, Favre and Manning played 16 games every year. So, what is a better way to compare quarterbacks across different eras? I propose using the percentage of drives that result in a touchdown, regardless if a touchdown is scored via pass or run. After all, quarterbacks are referred to as field generals. Please click the like button and share this video. As always, thank you for watching.